Hello, fellow AFL enjoyers. We're back. North Melbourne's back.
This is going to be a strange pod. First time in pod history that North Melbourne has been in Carlton.
And I said last week,
They've brought the scarves, they've flanked me.
I know.
You're lucky you're not
Pressure's
wearing.
on.
You're lucky you're not wearing one. I've got more. No, I said last week this was the one. It's nothing against Carlton per se, but it just seems like every time we've played Carlton, even in our lowest moments, there's been just moments where I'm like, oh, we can beat these guys, but we just obviously never could. And this time they did it.
No, I'd like to thank you guys actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because North, the shin boners are the killers of Carlton coaches. Think about back in the day, David Teague, that game where Taron Thomas kicked 4 goals, or whoever it was, Larky, like 7 goals on Wiedering, whoever it was.
Yeah, that's it. The 7. Yeah,
That sent
Directly on Wiedering.
Well, it wasn't directly on Wiedering. It was Liam Jones was in that as well. That sent David Teague to his grave, and I think you guys might have just put the nail in the coffin for Vossi.
You reckon?
Yeah.
It hasn't happened just yet.
The pressure is on big time.
Oh,
and
mate.
they're talking about, I'm hearing the name Graham Wright.
Graham Wright. Can't
say his name. But Graham.
Who is that?
He's the CEO that's coming in now.
He's the dude who made the decision on picking McRae for Collingwood. So obviously this he knows a thing or two. I think he was also involved with the Grundy decision to ship him off.
They call him the agent of change.
Wow.
So he's going to come into Carlton and he's going to mess some shit up, boy.
So how new is this guy?
He's not. He's coming in next season.
Oh, so he's gone at the end of the year, surely.
Oh, I think there's no doubt Voss is gone. He's absolutely gone, bro. We've lost to Richmond and North.
Hey, I take offense to that.
Don't take offense, bro. We beat you guys by 80 points 9 rounds ago.
We're a different team this year. But this is the thing, right? And we referenced this last week. The reason why Matsa and I were so gutted after that game was because you never were this year an 80-point better than us team, obviously.
Yep.
I don't think any team's 80 points better than North Melbourne this year. However, that was a disaster. Hence the massive, massive disappointment.
Yeah.
So
hence the broken remote
Hence the broken remote from Matsa. Hence I stopped watching footy for like 3 weeks. So this obviously, it's come the other way where we've had a great game. We're in a bit of form, you could say. Blues obviously very indifferent this year. But look, in any case, we should probably tell the bit of backstory on this game. So Matsa watching the game from home. Georgie and I, by some miracle, are attending the same baptism. Okay? Of a mutual...
Thank God for that, man. Because if I was sitting in a dark dungeon at home watching that game, I probably would have actually jumped off a bridge.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? George and I were being very polite to the host of the baptism. We didn't actually have the phone out, probably for more than, 5 minutes, realistically?
Yeah. Look, we'll check in the scores, but we only watched like maybe maximum 10 minutes of that game. Maximum.
So first quarter rolls around and we're seeing Carlton's inaccuracy. We're seeing a lot of inside 50s, just basic stats. And I'm thinking, okay, North started shittier. It's a matter of time. We're going to get blown out again. And then we didn't really check it most of the second quarter. And then all of a sudden, George shows me it at halftime. And I'm seeing this score and I'm like, what? I was giddy. I was behaving. I didn't put it on. And then the only moment we put on in that third quarter was when Carlton had kicked 2 in a row and you're thinking, oh, geez, okay, it's only 4 goals or something now. And then Jack Darling does a chase down tackle
on Chera.
And we go to Robbie Hansen goal. And then a couple minutes later, the McCurcher running goal.
Yeah. After like 10 broken tackles.
Bit of bullying on the wing, broken tackles. And then at that point, Georgie switched it off. He's made the call.
I've had enough.
And I respectfully didn't put it back on. I thought, you know what, this is fine. I don't need to watch. I'm going to watch this later in all its glory.
Yeah. Then I take a picture of Dean with his champagne and he's chilling in the backdrop. It's and then he was doing like Zebex in the background. Right. Tops off, his tie was around his head. It was crazy. Yeah. He was losing his mind.
Went a bit too hard for a 4 p.m. baptism, but it's okay. But I think Matsa should talk a bit more now on the flow of the game because he watched it live. He lived it, breathed it.
Look,
how'd you find it?
In regards to the flow of the game, like it was at the start, Carlton were, to be honest, they were smashing us, but we were staying within, touching distance of the game. And so I was feeling, okay about it, right? That second quarter, that must have been, watching it live, that must have been how it felt the Melbourne.
Yeah.
The Melbourne, was it the third quarter or the fourth quarter?
The fourth quarter.
Because I wasn't able to watch that live because I was at work. So I finally got to experience the hysteria almost. Like I was laughing. I was laughing watching this happening. I'm like, what is going on here? Us as fans we don't experience it often where our team just puts on a clinic and puts 6, 7, 8 goals in a row. That just doesn't happen. For other teams, it might happen every, 2, 3, maybe every month or so. You know what I mean? Where your team has a run. We don't do that. So to experience that, and look, there's just a lot of shout outs that has to go around to all the boys. Like the midfield group, I think they've settled on LDU, Parker, and Powell, and I think they've been great. I think Powell, he's doing, strutting his stuff. He's really breaking out. Parker, just the effort and the tenacity at which he plays, the little things, those little moments where it can be either a fumble, turnover, goal the other way, to I've picked it up properly and I'm hand passing it off, and all of a sudden we've started a chain. That little things like that, you need those guys, and Parker is just unbelievable. And then 100%. LDU showing that he can be the $1 million man, and actually play some good football. He's looking unbelievable the last couple of weeks. Yeah, it felt good. And then the slight dampener was the last quarter. I don't care about it.
Yeah, no.
To be honest with you, like I've seen people complain about it on on social media. It's like, bro, did you not experience that second and third quarter and how amazing that was as fans?
And in hindsight, on watching the replay, I don't think there was ever a realistic chance. Even though, like in that last minute where there's 2 goals in a minute, you're thinking, "Oh, is it on?" But no, it was never going to happen. Just on that second quarter, when I was watching the replay, I didn't quite realize how fast we scored all the goals, because there was the first one, but then a big gap. And then the game just broke open. It was like 4 or 5 in 10 minutes or something. So, yeah, that was in that way very similar to the Melbourne one. And really all it was winning the ball and then clearing it properly, and then winning the ground ball or marking it in the 50, and then it's a goal.
Yeah.
Pretty simple, but when it all comes together like that, which it hasn't for a long time for North, it's really awesome to see.
Yeah, 100%. I think the forward line, like, it's a bit between the midfield and the forward line where the structure is a little bit better. I don't know if it's the fact that Darling comes in, all of a sudden, he takes a somewhat decent defender. Zerha can break free. Paul Curtis can break free. Larky's hasn't really done much, and he hasn't really needed to, really, because the other dudes are just, they're doing their thing as well. So, and another key piece, in my opinion, to that, to that puzzle, Constanti. Like the counting stats don't really show it. Like it's like average stats. He might have kicked 1 goal, maybe a couple assists, whatever it was, but just the tenacity, like Luke Parker. These 2 dudes we got from Sydney, just bringing this energy and this tackling pressure. It's been a great trade.
And he was the steak knives in the Parker deal.
He was.
No one really thought he'd play, and then he hasn't missed a game.
Yeah. And I think we were talking about him, right? And he said, look, he does his role, but he's not overly spectacular where you can't improve upon that position. So it's kind of like, it's a win-win for North. We haven't spent much to get him. We're getting good use out of him. Eventually someone else can come in and replace him who's better, but, there's no rush for that, because we've got a dude who just plays a role and just does it well. So it's really good.
And there's something we haven't said in a while, since probably that Carlton game, was the driving the car. For those that remember, in the preseason, a big talk for North Melbourne was take your time with the ball, drive the car, look in your rear view and so forth before making a rush decision. And I feel like George will probably touch on it soon with Carlton, like a lot of missed tackles, broken tackles. But then when you think about it, like you've got an LDU, hard to tackle. You've got Parker, hard to tackle. Even rookie and rising star shout out, Finn O'Sullivan, hard to tackle. So it's a team now, they're maturing. Obviously the form's been better. We haven't been, like our percentage is much improved. But I feel like that's a good basis of a team, is like be hard to tackle, be hard to play against. But we're still not, look, again, we don't care about the last quarter, but ultimately that just shows how far off we are of winning consistently. Because that was a big lead, and like if that lead was only 4 goals or 5 goals, it's gone. So
true. If we weren't as efficient, with our scoring. Yeah.
That's going to stop us winning more games the rest of the year. Hopefully not. Hopefully they learn. But one other good thing as well that I referenced last week was the form of the VFL team. Not to go on a more than a minute here, but most good teams have good VFL teams. And right now our VFL team is, I think, 6th. Guys like Dersma are tearing it up, and people worried about him being an AFL player absolutely will be. You got the tools they're developing, Whitlock, Dawson, like people we've drafted, Goad, all first rounders.
Yeah, Finbar even.
Finbar Maley. So my point being, I think finally the club's turned a big corner, because you can see the structure throughout. AFL team picking up form, VFL team picking up form. And guys like Toby Pink, who we all thought he's gone at the end of the year, shutting out Kerno, shutting out Treacy the other week. Like that one got a bit lucky, but the point being, like, finally I think we're looking like a serious football team.
Yeah, 100%. And you mentioned Toby Pink, and I love the image of him. It's like
holding the babies.
An AI image of Toby Pink just holding all of his children. It was Charlie Kerno, Treacy, Tom Lynch, I can't remember. Maybe Norton's the other one. I can't. Oh no, Oscar Allen is the other one. So all the guys that he's held to 0 goals. He deserves all the credit. Well, not all the credit, but like he deserves, all the flowers. But I think that defense in its entirety.
I was going to say that. Yeah.
It wasn't just him. It was the whole defense. Like Logue was coming in at the right moments to spoil. Comben through injury. He's wearing the long sleeve not because he was too cold, but just because he was covering up his, his padding and his shoulder strapping. He goes in, with one arm and he's flying in at the right moments. Luke McDonald, he's been great. Yep. Honestly, he deserves credit. He's actually playing some good football, and this is a dude who Deano and I have talked about how much we hate him and how much we hated him as a captain. Right? I'll not hate him personally, but we hated the way he played. Now you just got to give him credit where credit's due. He's playing good football, and it's great to see.
Well, look, it's the case with a lot of defenses. It's the structure makes you look good, but then there's some players who even in a bad structure, you can look at them and say, it's not him. In the case of Luke McDonald and pretty much our whole defense, like none of them ever really stood up when we sucked.
Yeah.
Which is why we never really rated any of them. But you can see now with the overall team structure improving, you're looking at Logan now, you're like, okay, he's looking pretty trim. He's looking actually like what we recruited him for. You're looking at McDonald, even Pink. Like Pink could easily be out of the side like he was most of last year. Oh, actually played quite a bit last year, but in the forward line. But he's can actually play now, and you're thinking, renew this guy. He's an AFL quality defender, but
give him 2-3 years, man, 100%.
So
you look at some of the scores that we've copped recently, right? So we go 73 from Carlton, 73 from Dockers, 52 from the Eagles, 108 from Collingwood, who are a great team, 74
and that was
from
just
Richmond.
the one bad quarter, really.
Exactly right. 71 from Brizzy, 65 from Essendon, and then 97 from Port. We don't concede as much as what we used to. Like the previous time we copped, more than, the 108 Collingwood, 150 from Carlton. And it just shows how much we've changed in that time frame.
And I said this before the bye, just to really wrap up the North bit, but I said this before the bye in that our form in the second half of last year was similar to this. And this is even better now, to be fair. And I expected that from the first half of the year, which is why the Carlton loss and the Sydney loss, where you're getting pantsed again, is like, I thought we were over this. And we'll probably still will cop a few more hidings to some good teams in the second half of the year, but we've basically replicated the second half of last year in the first half of this year, and now we're post-bye. We're looking pretty good, 2 wins out of 3. It's time to just keep going now and see how many more you can win. We've got games like St Kilda, we've got Richmond again. That's another couple, hopefully. But then some hard ones like this week, Hawthorn, Dogs the week after. So hopefully they can just keep learning, keep developing.
Yeah.
But no, it's looking good.
A couple more things I want to say. A couple more players that need shout-outs. Colby couldn't hit a target, I swear, for the first 3 quarters, right? But the drive that he provides and the fact that he's just ready to receive, ready to use it, ready to just break lines was great. And the 2 goals, obviously, cherry on top of a solid performance. He just, it's unfortunate that he just kept hitting Carlton players. It was very frustrating. But I like where it's heading, though, with him, is what I will say. Sheasel, he barely touched the midfield. He barely played any midfield, like, centre bounces or anything, but he was finding the footy and using it really well. And that goal that he scored, just to put a cherry on top of a great performance from him and a great performance from the team, that just warmed the heart as a North supporter.
I saw online his heat map, but specifically his disposal dots appearing along the map everywhere.
Yeah.
There's no part of the ground this guy didn't get a disposal. And that's, if anyone asks what his role is, that's his role. Doesn't matter where he starts, dude's going to impact the game everywhere.
Yeah. You know what it kind of reminds me of? Reminds me of the way Geelong used Graham Myers. You know what I mean? He's not a centre bounce midfielder, but he comes up the ground and, he's distributing and using the ball down the ground. That might be, the go with him because, he's got great, ball use, he's got that goal nous, it feels good, man. It feels good with Shees and all the boys and all the way they played. So, probably should move into Carlton a little bit since we are talking about this game. There was 2 teams.
Yeah, no, I thought I'd give you guys, let you guys lap it up a bit because it hasn't been like that for a little while.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for giving us our space to talk. I needed
no worries.
it, to be honest.
No, look, it was a great win from you guys. You very much deserved it. And look, I didn't watch the game. And I didn't go back and watch it. But
Fair enough.
By all accounts, you guys absolutely bullied the shit out of us.
Yeah.
And the margin from a lot of Carlton fans were saying that it was flattering, right? So, look, from a Carlton perspective, there's just no hiding now. And that's why I was actually saying thank you guys for exposing where we're at, because the worst thing you want is to paper over the crack cracks. And that's what I was kind of alluding to last week, that if we beat you guys and then we come up against Port and we show good, and then we come up against Collingwood, that's when we're going to get exposed. We got exposed even worse than that. So from a Carlton perspective, no fan this year has been chirpy because they've been absolutely smacked in the face from round one, right? So there's just no position for Carlton to get ahead of it. It's always been from behind. And now it's just collapsed on its face. Like you guys talked about how flat you guys felt losing to Carlton at the start of the year and how your fans were crying and, Matsa was smashing the remote. Carlton fans were crying in the stand. There was little kids teary.
That little kid. There was that one little kid who was
very
just
cute.
I haven't seen that in a long time. I mean, Carlton fans are never happy, but like actual crying, they're broken because we've gone through a cycle again. Another 4 years with the coach, and then shit, man, we're no good. Like this is not going to work. All these players' careers are wasted. So it's just a never-ending cycle when this team is actually quite fascinating. And just a lot of people have a lot to answer for. Can I just quickly say on the crying thing, just one side note. I do feel a sense of like justice because a few years ago when we went to the game, and I've never let you live this down because you weren't participating, but as we were walking back to the car and we were all the Carlton fans singing the Carlton theme song in like round 3, and that was the year you made that was the year after you made the prelim. So was it though? Are you sure?
One of those years.
Man, if we made a prelim that year, we've got all right to shout down.
But it was round 3 anyway. My point being, those same I like to think that those same fans that were singing the Carlton theme song on the way to the train after beating North Melbourne in our lowest were the same ones leaving early. Just inside, it's the exact same people.
Look, I appreciate that because I remember I brought that story up on the pod because the person who started singing was literally like half a meter away from me, and I wanted to punch him in the throat so bad.
Look, man, all
because it really, honestly, like it just the blood was
man.
boiling.
He left early last week. That's all.
No, look, I'm still mad. I'm still mad.
No, it can't be like that, man. There's so many swings and roundabouts over the years. You can't go back 4 years and say, "Oh, man, some fan said this." That's crazy.
I'm holding it to him. Look, I do. Thank you for bringing that up because I do remember that vividly because I remember how pissed off I was at that. But yeah,
anyway, you were saying, sorry, man.
What I was saying was, to my point about not being able to hide, I'm very happy that Wiedering didn't go down in that match. Obviously because he's one of the most important players in our team, but more so because it would have just been an excuse that you could just rub in. You know what I mean? Yeah. Oh, Wiedering's gone down the first quarter, our structure's shot. Oh, it's just all a bit too hard. North had their day. There wasn't an excuse, and I'm very happy that there wasn't an excuse because you could just see it straight away, right? That's first quarter.
He looked cooked, man. I'm so shocked. They must have jabbed him up and just said,
I'm sure he wasn't at his best, right? But the fact that he played out the game.
Oh, he was moving okay.
Yeah.
He was moving fine.
Well, that's good, right? But you know what I'm saying. Like, if he was gone first quarter, that's straight the narrative.
Yeah, exactly right. Oh,
and I don't want that.
It would have been Roos beat a bruised Carlton or something.
Yeah, something like that.
An injured Carlton or whatever. Something along those lines,
And then Carlton does this post today on Instagram and it's just like eyes forward, like 2 words, eyes forward. And all the comments are like, oh, how out of touch is this club? Don't post. And they're right. Like, what? Who's behind this media post?
Well, I saw there was a 3/4 time
when they do that.
I think I saw your 3/4 time one was like 1 more to go. Or something like that. What?
They're so bad, man. They're so bad. Like, who's approving this shit? And then, like, obviously the fans are going to lose their mind because now the pressure is going to build and build and build. You're already hearing about all the Voss talk. We lose next week against Port Adelaide. We've got to go to Adelaide Oval. We don't have a record there. And then we've got Collingwood. It's going to get worse, man. Right? And the Voss talk has started now, and it's just going to build and build, and the fans are going to build and build, and everything Carlton do is going to be wrong now until it just explodes. And I've seen this before. I've seen it 4 or 5 times, man. So I know exactly what's about to happen. But you guys talked about how the fourth quarter made you a little bit angry, but not too bad. You know, it actually made Carlton fans more angry than you guys is that last quarter.
Yeah.
Because it shows that they can play football, right? Just only 1 quarter. And I was saying this to Dean. Well, Carlton's only been playing 1 quarter of recent. They played the 1 quarter against Essendon. They played the 1 quarter against West Coast, and that was enough to win that game, right? And Carlton potentially had the chance to do that against you guys and set the tone right in the first quarter. Lockie Fogarty misses from 10 metres out, all these things. And it looks like they've got the wave of momentum and they're just not capitalising it, which they did capitalise on it weeks before. So it's the exact same story, but they got their 1 quarter in the last quarter, and every Carlton fan's sitting there going, if you can do this, which we know you can, because they're a high ceiling team, Carlton. They can do it. They have high percentages. They can beat up on teams. We've seen it. Then the coach is not utilising and not getting the best out of his team. It's just as simple as that.
Yeah. Well, quite frankly as well, I mean, you said you played the one last quarter. You did also play well in the first. And if it's instead of 2 goals, 7 or whatever it was, if it's,
That's right. That's my point.
if it's 4-5,
It could have been 40.
you win the game.
You guys kicked 1 goal in the first quarter and none in the last quarter.
Mm.
And we lost by 11 points.
Yeah.
And we're telling me this is a team that's meant to be losing to teams in the bottom ladder rebuilding.
Yeah, yeah.
Shouldn't happen.
Yeah, yeah.
It should not happen. That doesn't take away from North. What I'm saying is just a Carlton perspective. They should not be losing this game. And the fact that they did means heads need to roll.
Mm.
And they've done it many times throughout this season. And they've done it all of the second half of last season.
Mm.
And it's like someone needs to solve this issue immediately.
Yeah.
And I said years ago, you know, I want this player gone, I want this player gone. This player. If you want to go back years and want to be vindicated, I'm vindicating myself, man. I was right.
Yeah, no, you were right.
I was
you were
right.
You know, I feel like who the players you said were right to keep. I think it was just Kerno, maybe Chera, and maybe Walsh. I feel like those are the only 3 you said keep. But now I bet you'd get rid of maybe 2 or 3 of those.
Well, no, look, it'd be interesting to see what they do at the end of the season because I think we won't know how bad Voss is or how good Voss is until he goes because he's going, right? But I don't know if there's an obvious replacement. Like, who are they going to get? Longmire, Adam Simpson.
Yeah.
Like Adam Simpson, like I guess he's a premiership coach, but still, does he fill me with that much hope? No, not really. So that's one aspect. But I wouldn't be surprised if a big name goes. I think Tom DeConning might go. So we'll get, if we finish low on the ladder, we'll get a compensation pick. So that'll be a high pick.
Yeah.
That's something. And then
You've lost your actual pick already this year.
yeah.
Yeah, so I guess you do.
But
need-
that's gone to Jagger. So Jagger will come back and we'll go, all right, that's how we paid up a lot for this player, but he's playing.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that's added insult to injury this year is he's not playing.
Yeah, well, look, the lack of like depth in the midfield right now. Look, who's the next midfielder after Chera, Walsh, Cripps, Hewitt?
Yeah, so
Zach Williams?
Walsh wasn't playing, right? So
yeah, exactly right. So like after those good 3, apart from Walsh, so Chera, Hewitt, Cripps, it was Zach Williams.
no, it's not.
But Zach Williams was playing in the middle.
Was he?
I definitely.
I think it's Cooper Lord.
Yeah, and he got subbed. So
Yeah,
obviously it shows how
or
much
Doherty or some shit.
Yeah, Doherty's been playing halfback. Because
Yeah.
I've got him in draft and I pay attention to that. You know, he's doing the biz, man. He's doing the biz. I don't care if you think he's bad and he's going to get dropped. He's doing the biz for me.
Doherty's going to retire at the end of the year. He should have retired at the start of the year. We shouldn't even be playing him. And I really hope this is the last thing I'll say actually, because we've talked about this probably for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
If Carlton does not swing the axe, it just shows how much of a coward they are. Because there should be some selection integrity, but they are too scared to keep losing and they're too scared of the pressure, so they probably won't drop players. And they need to drop players. And then Voss had this spray at 3/4 time, and everyone was saying that he was singling out Bins. And I can't confirm or deny because I saw a bit of a footage, and it's not, to me, it's not as obvious that it's just Bins. But
How could it be Bins, bro? Like, what?
because he's pointing directly at him.
But why are we blaming Bins?
Well, that's what
you
I'm
know what I
saying.
mean. This dude, he's played like 3 or 4 games.
That's what I'm saying. So that was a criticism. Like, why is Voss singling out Bins? Right now, I don't know whether he is or isn't, but that's what the commentary is. That he's pointing directly at Bins. He's like, "Do your effing roll," and Bins is like, "Bro, I'll just run, bro."
Right, no, exactly. That's
Voss is basically saying, "Please win so I can keep my job." and
basically.
Yeah, so it's woeful. I just feel sorry for Cripps, man. Imagine what he's thinking.
I know.
Man's won 2 Brownlows, had 100 best and fairest. He's 29 or 30 years old.
Well,
And
he had a couple disposals at half time.
yeah, he had a poor game.
Poor game.
But
So,
look, I mean, one poor game in 100.
I know. In the scheme of his career, I'm not saying, but
Yeah.
even him, you're looking at the North midfield saying like, "We bullied you." He's Patrick Cripps. He's huge.
I know,
How is he
that's the
getting
thing.
bullied?
He's the biggest boy out there.
How
He's
is he
a big
not
boy.
like? We used to have to scheme and tag and like do everything to stop this guy. Now we're just like head to head.
Yeah,
Dominated.
exactly. LDU, Parker, Tom Powell, do your thing.
Wardlaw.
Wardlaw, yeah.
Georgie.
He got
Georgie.
mate. We subbed him out. We did a ranking on you guys. Remember when they subbed our ranking against Essendon? We're like, we're just
Both
gonna,
of them have
we're
soft
just gonna,
tissue.
Yeah, exactly. we're gonna pull out our Rolls Royce, absolute go get a mid.
I'm
Maybe
gonna-
they shouldn't in the end.
We'll put in
Whatever was the
our
comeback.
other Rolls Royce came in. Zach Fisher.
Yeah, you're right. That's true.
Oh, did Zach Fisher get some game time?
What's up? Yeah, played well.
Yeah, he was good. Put some energy, There's one thing, because I'm looking at our the 3 dudes we picked up, as in the experienced dudes, Caleb Daniel, Parker and Darling. Parker and Darling are 2 hits. Caleb Daniel's but at least he's better than Fisher. Is the way I see it, because at least he's definitely better than Fisher as a halfback. But shout out to Fisher for trying to do something different. Half forward winger. Bring some energy.
He's zippy. When he comes on, he's got a bit of zip to him. That's fine.
and you can tell he's got a bit of vibe to him. You know what I mean? You can tell he's a good dude.
Yeah.
You know,
He's a gamer.
he's a gamer. So he's a
He
gamer.
he games.
I know. I saw a photo of him buying a box of One Piece cards. I'm like, bro, what a good guy. You know what I mean? He's into the the TCG game. So shout out to him.
That's mad.
I think
We're gonna have to speed run the other games, I reckon.
yeah, no, 100%. I think
The rest of the games are kind of irrelevant, bro. Who cares, man?
Look, the next game, it wasn't the next game, but we'll start with the start of the round. Freo versus Essendon, and I have no interest in talking about how bad Essendon are, to be honest with you.
Freo have won 5 games in a row.
Yeah, well, the thing I do want to say with him is Luke Jackson had like the highest rating game for a ruckman. I think equal highest for a ruckman, and I think the highest rating for a Fremantle player.
186.
Yeah,
I think. Or Fifi, surely.
Fifi might have done better.
5.
But like,
That's translation for 5.
No, that was my papa would call him Fifi. I think it was the rating system. It was like 36, whatever that rating system is, what that champion data is, or whatever it is. It's not Supercoach points. It's a different one. Apparently, he had the highest rating game, and it makes sense. He was versing Vigo Vicentini. You know what I mean? Like, cool name, but like first game ruckman.
Yeah.
Jackson loves to just go ham on bad ruckman. I think he does it every time. Every time he's a lone ruck and he's got a bad ruck, he's destroying them.
And not just obviously definitely Jackson, but look at I'm just looking at the Supercoach top to bottom of Freo's players. Like Essendon's just decided, you know what? All your best players, go have a night. Jackson,
go have fun.
Ryan, Sarong, Clark, Treacy, Brayshaw. And on that note, I know you said like we're going to skip over Essendon. I feel like it's tradition on the pod when they lose, we give them flowers. So this week I want to give more flowers, just to specifically to Brad Scott. I know he gets them most weeks, but like he would be loving the excuses of debutants every week. I know I've keep banging on about this, but like the fact that they can announce a debutant every week is just exactly what Bombers fans want. Is that excitement of a rebuild, but like it's just not.
That's the thing, man. Your best players are not they're not the young dudes.
Exactly.
Like apart from maybe Caddy, because Caddy has the highest potential of their team. Merritt's your best player. Caldwell's
playing out of position.
Playing out of position. Then it's Caldwell. Man. I don't know. Parrish. Ridley's not playing. Yeah. I don't know who. Martin's.
And
young,
don't get me wrong. I hope these kids all do well, and like you need to play them when you have the injuries. But I'm just saying from an excuses point of view. He'd be loving this. It's saving him his job. He's already signed the contract at the start of the year. Tactical. Yeah. He knows what he's doing.
100%.
Get that bag early and then worry about the rebuild later.
This feels like the year. Do you remember the year we had like 10 debutants or something? 10 or 11 debutants under Scott? And probably like maybe 1 or 2 of them are still on the list.
That's what I'm saying, man.
He loves giving random debuts to dudes who don't really...
to put the message out there to the fans.
Yeah.
We're rebuilding. Yeah. Look, debutants every week. We're clearly rebuilding, right? No different here. So anyway, in saying that, Lual, not a debutant, but only played a few games. Kick 2. May kick 2.
Yeah,
so like good on him. And Vicentini actually was doing okay before he got injured tackling someone. So, I'm sure they'll be fine. But it was all really about Freo this game.
Yeah.
That was too good.
100%. And look, now we look at the ladder. They're 6th. I think they're one of those teams who can still drop out of the 8, but at least... from their perspective, that they're properly in that running. That they just have to play good football for the rest of the year, and and that's it.
Yeah, and we can talk probably since you're talking about the ladder, a big gap now between 9th and 10th. Yeah. So Gold Coast are game in hand 32, and then Carlton's 10th on 24. So that's 2 games. So 24 Carlton, Sydney 24, Port 24, Essendon 24. So probably of those ones, I reckon maybe Sydney, which we'll get to soon, is the only one that could probably jump that leap now they're getting some of their players back. But it's still 2 games and percentage away.
Yep.
Which is really far.
It's unlikely, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, 100%.
So it's really one team has to drop out of this 8 for Gold Coast because I reckon I favour them.
Yeah, but we know that you have a little bit of an affinity for the
I've got an affinity
for the Northern Australian team.
But really, there's no one else.
Yeah.
Yeah, so speaking of a bit of an affinity, we'll go on to Brizzy, and I have an affinity for a certain player who, I don't know if you guys remember. It was a podcast where it was just you two, and you guys were bagging Brisbane Lions key forward stocks. And I'm in the background.
This is so over the top bagging.
You guys were just trashing him, bro. You guys no acknowledgement for my boy Logan Morris. I'm sitting there like I've organised the recording.
He makes it sound like we said Logan Morris, but he's shit. That's what he makes it sound.
But look, just me in the background with barely a voice going, Logan Morris is good. Logan Morris is good. I could barely speak, but I had enough energy to tell you guys.
He was so sick, he was crawling on the floor, and he just mustered his last words.
Yeah, that was my last words.
Logan Morris
is good. Yeah, there it is, boys. Logan Morris is good.
He's very good.
Mm-hmm.
Some would say.
The youngest player to go back-to-back 5 goals since Lloydie.
That's not bad. Both names start with L.
And the thing with Logan Morris, and thinking back to his draft year, he kicked a lot of goals, but he slipped massively. And everyone's been talking about the value of the pick and whatever. He only slipped because of his height. And everyone's saying like he's a bit of a tweener. He's not really a key forward in the AFL. And then all of a sudden, he's probably grown a centimetre or two. But he's got the IQ. He's strong enough. And he just plays football.
Well, that's the thing, because he's not the most imposing athlete at all, and that's exactly what it is. You're right. Not the tallest, not the most imposing athlete, but he always could take a contested mark even during his junior years.
Correct.
I know that's one of his strengths. Is that not enough? And IQ, is that not enough to get you, top, 15, 16?
Kicks goals, man.
Whatever in the draft.
And he's an excellent example of drafting that player despite those concerns. Then you look at someone like Myercheck, who probably wouldn't have been drafted high for the exact same reasons. Gun contributor.
Yeah.
So I think recruiters need to maybe readjust the way they recruit key forward specifically, in that they just need the IQ and a good kick.
You know who's a famous example of that?
Who's that?
We talked about him before, Nathan Fyfe.
Yeah.
He dropped in his draft because they didn't know what he was, because it was too short to be a forward. It was not right quite. They just didn't know where this guy was going to play. So he's an example of that.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, great player.
Geelong must be this must be the most embarrassing loss that they've had in years, in my opinion, because they're building it up. Everyone's wearing white.
Well, they kind of, I reckon, they got the lion angry, so to speak. Like they starved it and they got it all excited for the fight,
Maybe
and then they bailed on it. They just didn't want to show up.
True.
Well, it's about time the Lions showed up.
Yeah.
And they kind of needed a bit of a scalp, and this is a huge one.
Yeah. Well, I feel like Geelong, like apart from Collingwood, they're probably the most talked about team, most hyped team in the last month.
Yeah.
Brisbane, with a team, everyone's kind of like, you guys drew to North Melbourne, you've lost a couple games. What's going on here? Statement game. Huge statement.
But they gave them one thing proud, good teams don't need, or you shouldn't give them, is an occasion to play for. They made it like a finals atmosphere and then didn't follow through on it. So look, Cats will be fine. They rarely lose 2 in a row and hit bad form. But it's more to say about Brisbane, like a reminder to everyone, when they're motivated, they've still got it.
Look, when Cameron Rayner kicks 3 goals, you know you're in trouble.
Yeah,
true. He's just like, if he kicks 3 goals or more, Lions win. Simple as that.
Yeah. I feel like, it was, even the game, just the start of the game, it started with swagger as well. You know what I mean? Cam Rayner kicking 3 goals. It's what's his name? Kyle Lohman kicked 2.
Couple speckies as well.
Yeah, one specky that was not given, and then the second specky he too smalled Zach Guthrie. Like, bro, this dude's like 10 centimeters taller than you, and you're too smalling him. But all right,
all for it. That's
fine. Same.
That's a play on for me.
Yeah. So but you look at the numbers across the board, particularly like Ashcroft and McCluggage. Like those dudes are damaging. Actually, Dunkley as well with 30. They're just 30 and 10 tackles, bro. It's a good Dunkley.
What I love about McDamage is only 22 possessions, mate. That's max damage,
but his super coach I saw
is the highest.
Was 131. It was a very good game.
Highest in the game with 22 possessions. That's how you know McDamage does damage.
That's true. That's true. Even with Ashcroft, we did get 120 something as well. Super
112.
coach, he's damaging too. Kicked goals, goal assists. Yeah, this is without like a big game from Lockie Neal. You know what I mean? I think that's something that you got to talk about as well, that they have this depth. Levi probably had his best game, I think, for the year. I thought he was very damaging. He was using it well. He was clean. I think there was some question marks about him because he got subbed. I don't know if it was last week or the week before. It was kind of like, is Levi, is he as good as his brother? I think if he got the midfield opportunity, some CBAs, he might be.
Correct. Yeah, he's got an ideal role to develop in. He's a freak in his own right. But that's good that he doesn't need to have a heavy burden on him. Another player who I'm really loving is Fletcher.
Yeah, I love Fletcher.
Man, the role that he's got now,
yeah,
that can be his for the next 10 years.
Yeah. Mate, who needs Kitty Coleman, man? Like, I feel like it's almost at this point, it's like Zorko retires and then, Coleman takes that spot. But, like, you can't displace Fletcher out of that back line.
He looks unreal, man. And that's not if he develops even more to have an even bigger role in the future. Like, if that's his role forever, man, he will have a great career.
100%. No, he uses it very well. And he's got a bit of... he's got that bit of speed. He's got a little bit of physicality to him. You know,
They've also got Wilmot, who plays a bit higher up the ground, but he can also go back there as well. So they do have a couple of players that can play that role.
Yeah, no, it's look. I think it's about time that they had a game like this from the Geelong perspective. Yeah, I don't know. It's a blip on the radar. It's just such a sucky time to cop it. Such a bad time to cop this reality check. Yeah, so I don't know. They need a response. That's all I can really say. Like, I'm not really overly concerned about it because they've been so good up to this point.
Well, I think they've got the best record against top 8 teams, Geelong.
Coming
into this.
There you go.
So they'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, now they've got a bye, and then they go versus Richmond. So, you know, they'll get to ease their way back in nicely.
Port v Swans. So
Swans,
Swans,
who's the most accurate kick in the AFL?
Not Amati, man.
Joel Amati. 0-6, bro. Is that even? Have you ever seen that before in your
I
life?
think he had 9 scoring shots. So there's a couple out on the full as well.
Oh my god,
that's crazy.
Insane.
9 goals, 17, and they still won.
Look, that just shows
They won, bro.
Yeah, that shows how much that they would have freaking, you know, destroyed Port by if they had probably played. Look, I think Port again pissed me off because they cost me my multi. They cost me my multi. No, my gauntlet, and now all of a sudden they're just a bad team again. Like, why did you do it for 1 week? Why you have to be a good team for 1 week?
That's what they do, mate.
Yeah, no, legit.
When it's Zach Butters against the world, then the world's going to win, mate.
Yeah, true. And in this case, the world, you know, is Heaney. The world is Errol Goulden back.
Yeah, Goulden's back.
Mills, who's actually playing really well in his role. And it's not just like the distributing. It's the little moments where you need someone to be clean, to pick up the ball, to intercept, quick hands to Goulden, quick hands to whoever, Roberts, whatever, Blakey. He's a nice little, you know, link in the chain, and he's doing it really well.
Yep.
He just needs some consistency now. That's the best game he's played in 2 years, but pretty much the only game he's played in 2 years. So, yeah, I mean, he's their captain. He had 27 possessions, so he got a bit of the ball, as you said. And then you talked about Goulden, who 18 possessions, you know, he slowed down a bit towards the second half, as you'd kind of probably expect. He's getting back into it. And then where's my other boy, Tom Papley, 0 goals, 2. Probably not the best first game, but
but that's a big
rust
player.
it off. Yeah, get rid of the rust and go again. So that's 3 genuine guns straight into the team. I don't know who else is to come. I imagine there's still some good players to come back in for them. If they can really just push hard for the second half of the season, I don't know what their run is like. They're the ones for me that could do it.
Well, the interesting thing is if they do stay fit now, you would back them in to win more games than they lose in the second half of the year.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they potentially make finals in form because they would need to be in form to even make it from here. And if I'm just looking at the teams from in that sort of bottom half of the 8. So your Hawthorn, Freo, Giants, Dogs, maybe even Suns. Any of those teams hosting the Swans who sneak into the 8, informed Swans, that's probably not the team you want to be playing at that point.
Yeah, that would suck, to be honest with you. You're one of those, if you're 5th and 8th, you have to versus the Swans in form with all their players fit and firing.
Correct. Like if you're Freo, you're hosting them in Perth, but you can't be too confident in that game.
Yeah, no.
Which is good. Good thing about the finals this year. We're going to have some great matches, but they're like a bit of a sleeping giant. Percentage might cost them, but they've got all the tools.
They had Chad Warner, who's a superstar, only 17 possessions that game, 0 goals, 2. I mean, if I read out some names, Brodie Grundy, Isaac Heaney, Callum Mills, McInerney, Blakey, Roberts, Chad Warner, Errol Goulden, Tom Papley, Sheldrick. There's some pretty good footballers in that team.
Yeah,
so
100%. Look, I'm looking at their run and some of the top teams that they have to verse. So they have to verse Bulldogs next. Dockers, another good team. They're versing North, good team. GWS,
it's a pretty hard run. It's a pretty hard run. They'll lose 1 or 2 more and they're done. But
Brizzy, Geelong in that run as well. It is a bit of a tough run.
I'll take back everything I just said.
Look, there are a few easy teams. You know what I mean? Like there's West Coast and Essendon and that's kind of it, really. And Saints, they've got the Saints. So they've got there are some good teams, but there are a lot of hard games. They need, and obviously they just need to win them. They don't have any other option. They can't play any bad football for the rest of the year, pretty much to get in, to make sure they get into the 8. But it's good to see them backfiring.
That's it. So then Saturday night was Pies Saints, which was a bit of a game for a while.
Yeah,
look,
shout out to the Saints for making it interesting. And I think there's a couple little things that happened in that game that were interesting. Viking hats, for the flying Viking.
Yep.
The Windhager tag that that got way too much talk. I feel like they just needed a topic to talk about this game because, apart from the debutant, like it's just kind of like a meh game, like it's Collingwood versus a team that sucks. They've gone to town with this tagging business. Like, bro, everyone tags like that. That's what happens.
Well, you mesh tagging with Dacos, and like literally, I was watching on 7. They had this graphic before the bounce, like literally ready to bounce the ball. Huge graphic, and it just said tagging Dacos. Like that's the thing you're about to watch. Yeah. Most cringeworthy thing you'll see. And then obviously the first motion of the game is Windhager palming him in the chest, free kick. Crowd's already pissed off about that. Pies fans, like whatever.
Well, Dacos had probably his best game he's had for 6 weeks or something.
So I guess that tag didn't work.
And that was the one I will say, like, it's a bit cringe all this Dacos stuff and the tagging, but the goal he kicked and then his reaction afterwards, like, bro is learning how to beat the tag and then some, which is scary.
But we say that, but he beat the tag against Jordan, like, what was it, like a month or 2 ago? And then I traded him in my Supercoach team and he's been shit since. And then he's had a good game now. So I don't know, like, he's one of those dudes where, like, you can tag him and he'll break it here and there, but it's...
But what I'm saying
he's
is
not
like,
immune to the tag, is what I will say.
No, I'm not suggesting is, but the elation that he had in that reaction after the goal is suggesting like he's working his ass off to beat it, and then when he does, it's like, what if he can do that more regularly? It's actually scary.
Well, the thing is like if you need to tag Nick Dacos, and you're crazy if you don't tag him because most of the time if he gets no attention, that's 35 possessions and a goal every round, right? And he's a damaging kick. He makes good decisions. So I'm in support of the tag, and Matsa's right. Like that's what tagging looks like. It's filthy. It's dirty. It's not honourable in any way, shape, or form. But I think it's necessary, and it's come back over the last 2 seasons. You've seen him like tag Neil and affect him. You've seen good players get tagged, and Sarong has been tagged a lot this season. He hasn't been as prolific. Why would you not go after the best player?
I agree. Look, I think the thing with these types of players, the tag, is it's almost like they're just made to be disliked by the media, by the fans. It's like almost like the Draymond Green almost type thing, the defensive gritty dude in the NBA who everyone hates. But look, I think it's only really good if the team wins. In this case, I think it looks worse because in the last 2 weeks we've had Windhager tag Bont and they got smashed. This week they did better. You know what I mean? They actually played, some decent footy. So
it's funny though because so many other players got off the leash. Like Lipinski has like a game of his life. Like a lot of other players managed to dominate, and then Dacos has a pretty good game as well. Doesn't seem like it added much to the Saints' victory. The Saints' attempt at victory, but they were never going to win anyway. Really, let's be honest.
Yeah, nah. Let's
That would be a crazy upset.
Yeah,
and Pies are just swimming along, man. They're loving life.
Yeah, no, they can play in so many different ways. Whether it's a quick game, whether it's a slow game, they're just such a smart football team. I don't know if that's the coaching. I don't know if it's the players. Maybe it's the fact that they have all these experienced. They've got Sidebottom and Pendlebury on the ground to guide these guys, and even Dacos is a smart footballer. Both of them are smart footballers as well. So it's like they've just got so much guidance and
The other thing I've noted, and I've mentioned this throughout the season, like obviously Collingwood's having a great season. They're 6 points clear at the top. They're premiership favourites. They bring in big superstar Dan Houston, and he's done absolutely nothing all year. Look, he had 9 possessions.
All right, what's the bet that
this guy was top 3 player at Port Adelaide?
What's the bet that he wins the Norm Smith this year?
Bro, 100% he's winning the Norm Smith. He's kicking 4 goals in the grand final. Like 100% he's doing it.
It has to happen.
That's the worst part. We know that come finals time, he's going to have 30 possessions.
Yeah, no, 100%. He's going to kill it.
He's typical.
Yeah.
He's been woeful.
Yeah. Look, I don't think he's been really.
He's been so insignificant, bro. John Noble.
He's been insignificant, yes, but not bad.
Insignificant is bad. Like they bring him in to impact, right? John Nobles is playing better than him.
Look,
now I'd rather have Houston than Noble, but Noble's playing better than him.
Yeah, no, you'd definitely rather have Houston. But yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Look, they give the kick-ins go to Howe for some reason. They all go to Jeremy Howe. And maybe even Darcy Moore. So I don't know.
Well, they're just unpredictable and they don't play through him like most teams play through their ball users.
Yeah.
I think it's a sign of a good team when you don't need to rely on him anymore.
True, because you've got Dacos as well, or was in Josh, of the Josh variety, who uses the ball very well and provides that drive. So it's like, I guess Houston, it's almost like break glass in case of emergency type ball use. I
like that, actually.
Yeah, there you go, something different there. You heard it here first. Now, one of the games of the round, just fast
Great
action.
game.
Oh, footy. Giants versus Suns. Look,
Can I just say something before you
Yeah.
before you go? I think Suns deserve to lose because of that jumper.
yeah, thank you,
Bro,
thank you.
they deserve
And
to
you know
lose.
what? You know what? Look, because I was telling this to Dan, and then I actually listen to Dan Does Footy because I never do,
Yeah.
but I listened to it today because I wanted to see, about the Carlton stuff.
Yeah, facts.
Of course. They move on to this game, and then he goes, "They should never wear that jersey ever again." I was watching it. I'm like, "Oh, West Coast are doing it right. It's not West Coast." That's the exact same thing I thought, and I told Dan that, and he didn't see
So
it.
we were watching it together.
Yeah.
And-
Dino, you're wrong in this one,
And
bro.
honestly,
You
though,
gotta cop
it's not
the
that I
defeat.
said it was good. I just had no emotional reaction to it at all. And Matsa just brought it up like 3 times in 15 minutes. I'm like, all right, it's not that bad.
Man, no, it was. I
pretty
was getting
bad, dude.
upset.
It's
I,
pretty
I
bad.
I was saying number 9, for Gold Coast, and that's not Harley Reid. That's Ben Ainsworth. You know what I mean? It was confusing me. Another one. I think Daniel Rioli, 17. I thought he was. Who's number 7? I thought he was Tyrell Dua for a sec. And I'm like, what's? My brain was just
Someone
getting-
fact check
Like
that
Joel
number.
Jeffrey or
Yeah, I don't know what number Dua is.
Dude,
Maybe
you know
it's
what
17.
that's like? They're the Suns. That's just like they left their normal jersey out in the
Yeah.
sun too long and it faded. That's what that is.
That's what
That's what it is.
Classic.
Bro, my thought was to fix this, right? You probably need to go like a white kit with the red instead of yellow and blue, white and red. But then it would be a clash with Sydney. But
You know
at
what they
least-
remind me of?
Yeah.
Carlton one time did a yellow jersey.
Yeah.
why
You remember like
I
years
do.
and years ago, like Judd running through the middle in that? That's never been seen again and never will. And that might be the reason they've been so shit for 10 years after. Like that they almost deserve it after that.
Dude,
The Carlton Blues were in yellow.
Man. Yeah, no, I remember that one. That was bad.
Um,
But anyway, great game of footy.
The Giants kicked 8 goals in the last quarter, bro.
And they looked incredible doing it. Jake Stringer
The package.
just decided, I'm just going to be prime Stringer right now.
Mate, those 2 goals were so clutch, bro.
Won the game. Yeah.
that's- The fact that the thing is, you score one of those and we're impressed, but doing both of those,
Yeah.
those are such like small like percentage kicks, and bro got 2.
It's always been the appeal with Stringer. Like when he's on, he attempts and has the confidence to pull off the incredible.
Mm.
But then there's so many weeks, obviously, where he just looks stupid.
Well, he
doing
was
it.
the sub. He
Yeah.
just came on early because of Whitfield.
That's a perfect role for him, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like,
It might be it, yeah.
just bring him on. He knows his thing. I'm just going to come out, cause chaos, go for the spectacular, and in some cases win the game. So that was awesome. Cadman's looking
yeah.
like
Fierce.
he's
Special, man.
significantly turned the corner now.
Yeah.
And just overall, man, that ball movement when it's on,
Yeah.
it's wild.
Yeah.
It's just like imagine play this scenario in your head, right? It's a tight game. You're winning against the Giants the whole game. The Giants come smashing through. It's like a wave, and then it's getting
Tsunami.
towards the end of the
Orange
game.
tsunami
It's a tsunami. Getting towards the end of the game, and then Callum Brown gets a free kick. Goes into 50 meters, kicks the goal, and you hear tee, 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 tee. For like a minute. You can't win after that. You're just tilted. Imagine like Matt Rao trying to get himself, I'm going to win this next clearance. Tee, 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 tee. Like that is insane tilt. Insane tilt.
Best.
Look, I feel like there's the feeling of that, and it's also Jake Stringer just scoring the most impossible goals when you know he's the loosest unit. You know what I mean? It just there's so many things that just that would be
know-
demoralizing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's just like, it's not our day.
Yeah, I mean Toby Green kicked a crazy. Like they just kicked some crazy goals. Even Tom Green kicked a crazy goal. So, like they just turned. It was just perfect football from them.
Yeah.
I mean, kicking 8 goals in a quarter is insane.
Yeah, that Tom Green goal. Thank you for reminding me. Selling double candies was
Man.
insane. Like, because you don't think of Tom Green as the most like classiest bloke, but that dude sent 2 dudes flying,
Man.
bro. Especially the second
I
one.
was watching from home. He sold that much candy. I checked my pockets after that goal and I had candy in it. Had a chocolate bar.
Lollipop for the little
He
one.
had a little Snickers bar in his pocket,
Yeah.
but or a Twix. Depends.
Are we going off Gold Coast because of that loss? I mean, they were
Yeah.
ahead the whole game.
I've told you guys all year. I've not been
42
convinced.
possessions, Anderson.
No, gun.
good.
He's a gun player and he can have those games. But
Yeah. Even Real was
I've
amazing.
told you guys, I don't care about these games in hand stuff. Like they're not convincing yet. They've been great, but a lot of their wins have been the wins you'd expect. They don't take scalps often.
Mm.
So for me, this just shows it. Like playing a team on their level, similar pot of the ladder, and they blew it.
Mm.
Completely blew it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
look,
they need to win the big one.
yeah, no, it's fair. Look, the next 2 weeks they have Melbourne, they have Essendon, then they have Collingwood. So they need it, and then Adelaide after that. So it gets and Brizzy. Whoa, it gets interesting for them. Man.
They must win
So
the next two.
So the next 2 they have to win, and they I think they will. To be honest, so I don't have any doubts that they'll win those 2 games. But then that 3 games, Collingwood, Adelaide, and Brizzy, I think you need to win 1 minimum, and then 2 would be like, okay, we believe you now. That's the way I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I would
and then
agree.
3 would just be like, okay, you guys are going to win the flag.
So
That's fine.
you know that they won't beat Brisbane. You know what I mean? Like the Q Clash has always been a one-sided affair.
Yeah, that's the Zorko game. You know what I mean?
That's the game where you're like, okay, it always seems to come at a time where you think, oh, the Suns they're just about to do it. Like they'll probably lose to Collingwood, beat Adelaide, and then you're like, oh, here we go. They need to win this one more game for us to take them seriously, and they'll lose it. Anyway, hopefully not. I wouldn't mind seeing them do okay, but
well, from a Giants perspective, they beat the Suns and they beat Brisbane last week, so they've had 2 good weeks now.
they're back.
And it just kind of reminded us that they're back.
Yeah,
and I don't think I've seen a game at the showgrounds ever with that much atmosphere. There was actually noise in the background, not just like, tumbleweed.
Yeah,
it's good.
I couldn't believe it.
Well, if you're not going to get excited over an 8-goal last quarter to win the game, and some of the goals they were kicking, like you'd never get it.
They actually maybe have some fans now.
Maybe. Look, I think every team when a team does well, you get fans. That's just how it works. I think for like a Western Sydney and then and also Gold Coast, for their fans to actually want to rock up and actually follow properly, because it's a rugby state, your team has to be winning. It's as simple as that. So when they win a few premierships, both of those teams, we'll probably start to see a bit of a crowd. But it takes a while, I feel like, to establish.
Imagine they make the grand final and it's the last quarter, and Callum Brown kicks the goal to put him in front. Like that can't happen.
Nah, look, I feel like you can't have teams. You can't have goal songs in a neutral game.
No, they can't.
But maybe you can. Maybe they give both teams,
Special request song.
Yes, they give both the teams their songs. Like Charlie Cameron, we give him his.
No, Country Roads
maybe
is
not
way
him.
worse.
Maybe not him. Maybe that's the thing.
Last game,
just
close contest.
Yeah, bad. I thought Bolter did really well in this game. Let's try to
1v1 my Super Coach matchup. That's
bro. That was Darcy he's going to be embarrassing dudes for years, man. There's nothing you can do. You can only team defense that dude. But even then, because he's running up the ground, you can't
Yeah.
I like how he kicks 5 goals and we're kind of just like, everyone else kicks 5 goals. Wow, what a performance. Darcy's like 5 only.
I'm almost underwhelmed.
Yeah.
The thing that's the best about it is he doesn't park it full forward and just happen like a Nick Larkey for North. Even like in a bad team, you can kick a bag and lose, or you can kick a bag and win. But he's in the ruck. He's on the wing. He's deep forward. It's essentially, like you said at that point, it's team defense or nothing. You just need to not let the other guys like your Vandermeers, your McNeils, Norton, if these guys get off the chain as well and kick a goal or 2 each, then you've lost.
Yeah. 100%.
If Darcy's going to kick 3 to 5 goals every game, you're kind of at this point just accepting that at this stage. But no, look, Richmond will never a chance.
Yeah.
Dogs just sort of took the piss for most of the game. So.
It was just an exercise of 2 just freaks at footy, Bont and Darcy just strutting their stuff.
And no one does the flat track bully like the Dogs.
No, they're absolute kings of it.
North for years, like they never lose the games against these bottom 4 teams.
They don't. They don't.
And they win handsomely. It's a percentage boost every time.
Legit. Who was the forward? Josh Bruce.
Yeah,
Josh Bruce.
10 goals Bruce.
Yeah, 10 goals Bruce, bro.
We were there, bro. I remember.
Yeah, no, I remember. I feel like we were walking out during the 10th goal. Or maybe the 7th
We
goal.
heard the roar. Yep.
And we're like, that's probably Bruce again,
Anyway.
But there's not too much.
Nothing
Let's tip, man. Let's tip.
All right, let's do
100%.
tipping.
Do we report or Carlton?
Look, something I've got to say.
Will Carlton respond?
I found this funny, but on Dan Does Footy, he's like, whoever loses this game, the coach has to be sacked. I feel like it's almost like a WWE wrestling thing. It's like, if I lose this one, it's my career.
They should have both of the coaches as the sub.
Yeah.
Bring them on the last quarter.
Bring him. Look, I think
Voss would go better than Hinkley, mate. Citizens arrest.
So. Look, Voss might be your best midfielder. But yeah, look,
I've got to go for me, Port in Adelaide.
Ooh.
That's the only reason.
We're very bad in Adelaide.
And I think like Port, you can think like if Curno's there, they've got the big boys down back, Radigalia. You're thinking, all right, they should be able to sustain him.
Aaliyah should be back after he was laid out.
And then you look at the on-ball class, it's like, okay, Butters can do his thing. I don't know.
It's definitely a midfield battle.
Georgiadis, he's been a handful.
I'm going to go Carlton.
Fair enough. You better hope so.
Look, I'm going to go Port.
I kind of want Carlton to lose, though. Then I don't have to watch footy for the rest of the
Fantasia
season.
revenge game. perhaps.
Fantasia, yeah.
True.
Swans hosting the Dogs is interesting.
Yeah.
Let's go Swans, man.
Yeah, look, at the SCG, I'm going to go Swans, but that really could go either way. I think the Swans just have a bit of an aura coming
Yeah,
into
they got all right, man.
into the end of the season with all those dudes back.
Well,
you know,
you've
so-
convinced me on
For the
aura.
plot, man. For the
Fine.
plot.
Fine. Suns v Melbourne.
Suns.
Yeah, you got to
Suns.
go Suns. Hawks v North in Launceston. Back-to-back games in Launceston for Hawthorn.
Yeah.
Have you guys played each other this season?
No.
then?
Nah.
You versus Brisbane there.
Yeah, in Hobart.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, this is Utah's.
Yeah,
Yeah,
look,
Utah's.
I tipped North last week and I got a tip there, but I'm going to tip Hawthorn
Yeah,
because
no.
you know let's
Hawks
let's
at
be-
Utah's are very hard to beat, and Hawks in general are just a better side than us.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I'm curious to see though, like if it's a rainy game again, right?
I
How
think it
do
will
we?
be.
Yeah, it probably will be exactly. It. I'm curious to see how we sort of deal with that. You know, because
Well-
the way we play, I don't know if it will. It probably won't suit because we try to play fast and try to hand pass it around. You can't be clean in the wet. So
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how we can adjust to that.
Well, last
Type
year
of
to
play.
end the season, North had checked out on the season, obviously, but it was in the wet in Launceston, and we got embarrassed. Or was it in
Yeah.
Hobart? Nonetheless,
Well, there you go. Here's another opportunity. Comparison game like the Carlton game was a comparison. To the last time we versed them. Maybe this is a chance to show that we can.
I would love to
do
have
better.
a game of football and not be embarrassed, and
Yeah.
just win, lose, compete, see how we
Fair,
go. But
fair,
no,
fair.
Hawks will win. Pies,
First versus 18th. Collingwood versus West Coast.
it's got to be the Pies, yeah.
Yep.
Tigers hosting the Crows at the G, got to be the Crows.
Yeah.
And then Freo, St Kilda in Optus. That's
Yeah,
a
it's
couple
Freo.
one-sided matchups.
Might
this
be
week.
some spankings.
Yeah.
Might be some spanking this
Mm.
week.
If that's like looking at it, I feel like because there's how many 50-50s is there? It's only Port, the Port Carlton game, Sydney Bulldogs, and then that's kind of the only 50-50.
That's the only
Yeah.
two, yeah.
So I think I'm just going to go the less picked team on both of those for my tipping, and then the rest of the main ones. Yeah.
Some quick shout-outs for our tipping comp. So
Yeah,
in number one spot is Lana S. Team
Still.
name Skivo on 95, lone leader.
Yeah, Skivo going crazy.
Then
man.
we've got Bock Hall, not Hockball, from Eugene H on 94,
Shout
clear
out.
second.
Shout out Eugene, man. Eugene Krabs. There we go.
Then we've got Eugene Grove. Then we've got two people on 93, Kiara Tinney and Fish and Crips.
Yeah, shout out Kiara, man. I don't know how she's done it.
Oh, yeah, it's your workmate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my work colleague. I don't
Well
know how
done.
she's done it. Shout out to Kiara for that one.
And then rounding out the top six, we got two people tied on 91. So a couple points behind is Paul Curtis Taylor and Bin Juice 1.
Bin Juice One.
Yes.
Cool name, man.
So, yep, it's a little bit of separation now between the spots there. So we'll see if
Yeah.
Lana can hold on.
Nah, she must, bro. That's insane stuff from Lana there.
Why am I so... I haven't even checked where I am for so long. This is disgusting. Anyway,
I don't even want to look where I am, bro. To be
let's
honest.
call it there, boys.
Yeah, sounds good.
Oh, shout out to McGovern.
Oh,
yeah.
bro, I'm so glad you brought that up, man. I would have felt really annoyed at myself. I was saying to you, Deano, we got to bring it up at the start of the
Not too excited by North, though.
but we were too excited from North. Look, Jeremy McGovern, I think might be like he was still a top 10, maybe even top 5 defender this year. Just a shame that he, had his injury problems and then ended up being concussion problems. But 5-time All-Australian, premiership player, All-Australian, what did I say? 5-time All-Australian, yeah, best and fairest winner. Set up that Dom Sheed goal, did us all a favour and, made Collingwood lose a grand final. What a player, man. He's one of my favourites. So sad one to see him go out like that. The medical retired. That's really sucky. But
Yeah. Hopefully he's okay long term. That's the main thing.
Exactly right. And, yeah, shout out to him. Yeah, nice. I'll miss watching him play. One of the best defenders that we'll ever see. To be honest with you,
I thought for a second George was shouting out Mitch McGovern's 4-goal effort, but
We got the better McGovern, let's be honest.
now you do, I guess. Yeah.
True.
But no. Flowers, definite enjoys flowers for Jeremy McGovern for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Now you retire, mate, you can come on, sit next to Dino.
Yeah.
That's it.
Why
That's
not,
it, man. That's it. Sounds
That'll ruin the illusion that I'm actually tall in real life if you sat next to me.
True.
Anyways, thanks for listening. Catch you on the next
I'm not
one.
wearing any shoes.
So, yeah.
Bye.